Hello, fellow readers. My name is John, and today I want to talk about my May book reads. In May, I read 12 books. It was a big, big month of reading for me. I read a lot of books, a lot of big books too. And for the most part, they were all good. I would say it's a great month of reading for me. I finished 3 series this month, and I read a few standalones. Yeah, and overall, I just had a really great time with most of the books I read this month. So I am going to have some spoilers when I talk about these books. Not gigantic spoilers, but there will be spoilers. So let's start off. I finished Wheel Time this month. In April, I finished the Robert Jordan Wheel Time books, and I read the last three uh, Wheel Time books, which were written by Brandon Sanderson with some Robert Jordan notes to help with. But first off is The Gathering Storm by Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan. I'm not going to go into too much detail with this because I did a tier list, a Wheel of Time tier list video earlier this month, and I went over these books in more detail. So I'm going to keep this a little bit lighter, but The Gathering Storm is my favorite of the Brandon Sanderson Wheel of Time books. I think this one's great, and it's mostly because it's an Egwene book, and Egwene is my favorite character, so that helps a lot. But I also think there's just some really good stuff in here. I think the prologue is great. This book has one of the better ends with Veins of Gold, where in this book you see Rand kind of go through like a depression almost, and he becomes like angry. Some people call him Darth Rand. But at the end of this book, he has like this sort of on top of Dragon Mount, he has this sort of like realization where he like sort of heals himself and he becomes sort of almost like a divine figure throughout the rest of the series, and it's like a really great chapter. So yeah, called Veins of Gold, awesome chapter. One of my favorite chapters in the series. Yeah, and then you also got the Egwene stuff in this book, which is really powerful stuff where she finally becomes the Amarillion, and you have the Sanchan attack on the tower. All that stuff is awesome. She shows real leadership here. You have the Varen Sedai reveals herself as a black member of the Black Aja, which is really powerful. But she's not really a member of the Black Aja. She's kind of working for the Black Aja to betray them. Basically, it's really good stuff. It's a really really good book. Um, and the only thing that keeps this book from getting the perfect 5-star rating for me is some of the voices just feel off. Matt feels really far off. I think Rand in the beginning of the book feels really far off, but there's a deliberate change to Rand like halfway through the book. And once that deliberate change happens, it's like, okay, now he's deliberately not sounding like Rand. But in the beginning, I didn't think he really sounded like Rand. And then most of the other characters, they're either closer, but they're a little bit off. There's also the Perrin arc in this book, where Perrin all of a sudden like isn't a leader, and it's like Robert Jordan spent 3 books on this arc where Perrin learned to become a leader, and then all of a sudden he's back to like where he was in Path of Daggers, where he's like, I don't want to be a leader. Like, it makes no sense. But the Egwene stuff and the Rand stuff is really, really good in this book. To me, this is a 4-star book. Great book. Just doesn't reach perfect because of some of the things that didn't feel quite right. But still a great book. And for me, this is my 4th favorite Wheel Time book. So really love this one. The next book I read was Towers of Midnight, which is the second to last Wheel of Time book, and it's the second Brandon Sanderson Wheel of Time book. Uh, when I talk about Towers of Midnight, I like to compare it to The Dragon Reborn. To me, they're the two most balanced books in the series. There's nothing bad in this book, and there's a lot of really, really good stuff, but it doesn't peak as high as The Gathering Storm did or some of the other Wheel of Time books. It's still great, though, because there's a ton of great, like I said, there's very, very little things wrong with it. Like, Matt's basically fixed in this book. I know some people don't like some of the parent stuff in this book, like the trial and the Morghese, but I actually really enjoyed the trial, and I like Morghese. Morghese was, one of my favorite characters in the series, so I enjoyed that she finally revealed herself in this one. And then, of course, you get the Tower of Genji stuff. You got this. There's like this cool like battle scene over these 2 chapters where Egwene is fighting a Forsaken, the Black Aja, and Perrin is fighting Slayer, and Gawain is fighting Sanchan assassins that are trying to kill Egwene while she's sleeping. Just some really good stuff in this book. It's not like really a big Rand book, although there is some good Rand stuff. The only thing wrong with this book, the only things that really didn't work for me, I should say, is there's this guy called Interlude or Italod A. I'm not really sure how you say his name, but he has like some action scenes in this. And the action scenes, don't get me wrong, the action scenes are great. They're really good stuff, but it didn't work for me. It just kind of bounced off me. Like he was introduced too late as a character. I just didn't care about him, and like by this point, I don't want to be reading about this guy who like was not a major character throughout the series. And there's a lot of that going on in this book, and those chapters just bounced off me. But I'm sure they worked for other people. They just didn't work for me. For me, it's a 4-star book. It's another great book. If it peaked a little bit higher, it would have got into the 5-star range, but it didn't. It's not a perfect book in my opinion. It's just a great book. Nothing wrong with that. This is a book that I really enjoyed. I would recommend to everybody. I would reread it in a heartbeat. Great book. 4 stars. Okay, then. Next up would be A Memory of Light, which is the Wheel of Time conclusion and the third book written by Brandon Sanderson. Again, with Robert Jordan's notes. But this is my least favorite of the Brandon Sanderson books, and I don't think it's a great book. I think it's a good book. You can even say you can even argue it's very good, but to me, it's just good. Because there was some things I hated about it and some things I loved about it. Like I really hate that Sanderson killed Egwene. Uh, I think it's very obvious that it wasn't going to be a Robert Jordan decision. Like Robert Jordan wasn't going to kill her, and it was later confirmed to me that Egwene was still alive in Robert Jordan's notes. So I don't understand why she died. It really felt like casualty for casualty's sakes, and to me it really screwed up the ending because the White Tower's just back to where it started, leaderless, directionless, uh, back to failing. Like they're going to be a failing White Tower again because they're going to have some Cat Swain takes over as Amarillion, and she's just not. She's like a super traditionalist Aes Sedai. It's like not going to work. Yeah, I don't understand that decision at all. It kind of ruined the book for me a little bit. Like it's not a great book because of that. But there's other stuff wrong with it too. It's breakneck, which is fun. It's fun. The pacing is just breakneck though. There's no breathing, no room for breath. It's a really breakneck book from front to back. I think the Dark One's character is not my favorite. He really feels more like an ideal idea than a character. So that last fight was a little bit to me. Although I did love the twist. I love the twist of how Rand survives that. Really good stuff there. Um, what else? Oh, Logain. I think Logain should have got his moment. Like Min has a vision, and Min is never wrong. Never wrong. Her visions are always right. But Min has this vision of Logain having like a glorious moment in one of the earlier books, a crowning moment. Uh, and he does. He just doesn't. He just doesn't. Like I think it's pretty obvious he was supposed to be the one to kill Tame, but Egwene ends up sacrificing herself to kill Tame. I was like, we don't really have anything for Logain to do. It's like, okay, I guess. Sure, he breaks some seals. Doesn't really seem like a heroic moment, right? So yeah, some of these foreshadowing things that Robert Jordan foreshadowed early, I don't think come to fruition in this book because Brandon Sanderson and the Robert Team Jordan, which his editor, his wife, and some of his other editors, I'm sure, made some decisions that I think didn't work for me. Yeah, I really just wish I got to read Robert Jordan's version of this book, but fortunately, he passed. So, I don't get me wrong. I think Sanderson did as good a job with the series as anybody else could have done. But in Memory of Light, there's just some stuff I didn't love about it. But there was some really great stuff, and some of this stuff is pure Sanderson, like the Black Tower, how they saved the Black Tower with Pavera and Androl. That was all, as far as I know, all Brandon Sanderson's idea. Really good stuff there. And then some of the action, like Demon Dread, was awesome, and he had some great action scenes. I think the meeting between Egwene and Rand was really good, especially since Maureen came and like basically solved all the problems, which is awesome. Then there was some other two-on meeting with Rand, and then two-on meeting with Egwene. Both of those scenes, the way they contrast each other, really good stuff. Like I said, I really love the twist at the end. The epilogue is really heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. Really good stuff there. Yeah, so there's some really great stuff. Oh, and when Grendel like corrupts the minds of the 4 captains, I think that's really great stuff. I think Elaine has like a really powerful scene in this where she gets stabbed and you think she's gonna die, and then Bridget gets beheaded, but then Bridget comes back after the horn is blown. Oh, and one more odd problem with this book, the horn. The horn issue, what they do with the horn makes no sense. Like, it's like, we don't have anything for Fael, so let's just get her to go get the horn. It's like, no, that doesn't really work because Fael can't teleport. She can't open gateway. She has no channeling ability. Like, logically, they would never send someone like Fael to go get the horn. They would have sent somebody that could make a gateway to Tar-Valon, grab the horn, gateway back to Rand, give him the horn. Rand goes to Matt because he's going to meet Tuan anyway. Like, it makes no sense that they're sending Fael on this mission. You have to like stretch your disbelief very far to make that make any sense. But they went with. So for me, this is a 3-star book. It's good, not great. It's better than fine. Like it's not in the 2-star range. It's a good book. It's like I said, those scenes that I talked about that are good, they're really good, and the action in this book is incredible. But there were just some decisions that didn't work for me. Again, for me, they probably work for other people. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of these decisions work for other people, but for me, they didn't work because they did not feel like they were properly foreshadowed. And if there's anything about Robert Jordan's writing, it's that he foreshadows everything, and he foreshadows everything heavily. Like he's a heavy-handed foreshadower, so you can like see things coming pretty early on. And some of the stuff he foreshadowed just didn't happen, or they like changed it, and some of that stuff just didn't work for me. But again, that's just me. Okay, next up is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, which is the first book in a duology, and this is a sequel duology to the Folk in the Air trilogy. And this book is more of a romantasy than the Folk of the Air trilogy was. Folk of the Air trilogy is really a fantasy until about the third book. Third book, it turns into like a full romantasy, which is fine. I actually really like the third book. But this one, the problem with this book is I don't think the characters are as strong. Like Jude and Cardan are just better characters than Soren and Oak. They're just not as strong characters, not as interesting to read, I feel like. And this book in particular just doesn't really have much of a plot. That's kind of a problem. The plot here is kind of lame. It does have a really good antagonist, Hate, and I actually think the point of view character Soren is actually very good. She's not as good as Jude, but she's a very good point of view character. Very, very good, I would say, actually. But the male main character, Oak, he's just boring. He's just a boring character in this book. And like I said, there's not much plot. The things that are admirable about this book, though, is the world building. The world building in every Holly Black book is really, really good. Magic's awesome. Just really awesome magic going on in here. And that's part of the world building, but she does a really good job with it. So, yeah, that stuff's really, really carried the story for me. And like I said, I think the point of view character, I think Soren is actually a very interesting character. But I don't think Oak is at all. So, and there's not much of a plot. And the antagonist is actually very easy to hate. The ant, very easy to hate. For me, it's a good book, 3 stars, but it's not any better than good. It's just good. And then next up would be The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black, which is the second and last book in the Stolen Heir duology. And this one, they switched the point of view character. So the first book, you get Soren as the point of view character. This book, you get Oak. And the book suffers because of that. 'Cause like I said, Oak's just not a very interesting character. He's quite boring. But the good thing about this book is the plot. The plot's a lot better in this book. There's like an actual plot. And Jude and Cardan show up in this book, who are the main 2 characters from the first trilogy. And they're really interesting. And they don't just play like a minor role in this. They're in this book, quite a bit, by sort of a big role. And like I said, I really like the plot of this book. I just wish the main character was different. And they're not the only characters that come back. You get some other characters from the Folk of the Air trilogy that come back in this one. So yeah, this book also, has, again, great world building, really good stuff. Also an easy to hate antagonist. I think this one is a very good book. It doesn't quite reach great because it just doesn't quite peak that high. Maybe if the point of view character was more interesting to me, it would be higher. But for me, it's very good, better than the first book. I would give this 3.5 stars. It's a very good book. Okay, the next book I read was Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. It's the first M.L. Wang book I've ever read. She's really, really good writer. Really, really good. I love this book. This is sort of a dark academia magic book. So yeah, our main character Fiona, I think her name is. I could be saying that wrong. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name. Is this sort of sorcerer, I guess you would call her, or a mage. She's a mage who does magic. She can do magic, and she becomes the first ever female high mage in history. And it's a big deal. This book deals with powerful messaging on feminism, like really, really powerful, and it's up front in your face about it. And I don't have a problem with that at all. Like it's intentionally in your face about it. It's really powerful stuff. Her assistant is a guy named Tamil, who is from this other race of people that live outside the city. And outside the city, there's this blight going on that's just randomly killing people. And he survived it by getting inside the city. But he basically has to become an indentured servant to get inside the city. And all his family and tribe dies while they're all trying to cross into the city. Yeah, that's really powerful messaging too. This messaging speaks on like the evils of segregation and discrimination, and there's really powerful messaging there, like I said. But yeah, the plot goes on with this. She's a high mage, and she's got his assistant. She's trying to overcome like her discrimination at work. The other male high mages are like kind of looking down on her, and they won't give her an assistant. Besides for this janitor who becomes her assistant. Like I said, he's facing segregation of his own. And yeah, they work together to solve the project that the Council of Archmages have assigned them. And yeah, there's just some really powerful stuff going on here. Some really, really great twists. We find out that everything's not as good as it seems. Like these mages are maybe not the best people. So then Fiona has to deal with that, and there's a lot of good. Like I said, I think it's like 2 or 3 like really, really good twists in this book, and then you get like the climax, which is just like so tense, and so emotional, and so powerful. And the only thing that stops it from being perfect is that the end is just kind of hopeless. It leaves you with this haunted feeling, and I don't think the book is dark enough to warrant that. I think the end should have been more hopeful. I have no problem with the main character dying. The main character does die, Fiona, but she could have died, and it could have like meant more. I felt like, and it just didn't, and that was a little disappointing because it was so close. It was just so close to being perfect. But like the end isn't like terrible. Like I don't hate it. I wished it was just slightly different. Like one little tweak, and it would have been perfect. Unfortunately, it's just not. For me, this book was heading towards 5 stars until like the last 30 pages, and it's gonna get the 4-star book. It's still a 4-star book for me. It's gonna get the 4-star rating. It's a great book, but it's not perfect for me. Again, just for me because of the end. It just didn't quite stick like I wanted it to. It almost did, but it didn't. One more thing that's really admirable about the magic system: it makes you feel like you're back in like college or university. It's a lot of typing going on. It's a really unique magic system, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I actually can't wait to read Sword of Kaigen, which is M.O. Wang's other like big book. So yeah, great author, and I'm really glad I read this book. Next up was the Brightsword by Lev Grossman. This is the 3rd Lev Grossman book I read this year. I read the first 2 Magicians books earlier in the year. I really didn't enjoy them, especially the first one. The first Magician book is my least favorite book of the year. It's the only book I gave 1 star to this year. The second book was a little bit better. It was fine. This book was really good. Really good. And it probably helps that I'm like a big King Arthur mythology legend fan. Like I really like the story of King Arthur. And I really liked his take on this story. And he went for the more like fantasy, magical, whimsical style of King Arthur storytelling, rather than the like gritty sort of historical realism fantasy style that someone like Bernard Cromwell went for in the Warlord Chronicles. So yeah, this book follows the story of a person called Cullum who arrives to Camelot too late. He arrives after the last battle, and most of the Knights of the Round Table are dead or missing. Most of the characters that you would know from King Arthur story are missing or dead, or presumed dead, and even King Arthur is presumed dead. So, but don't worry, her main character's name is Colum, and he still gets knighted. And this story tells the present day, so not now, but like in this story, the present day story of Colum and the remaining Knights of the Round Table and Nimue, who you would know. Nimue is like Merlin's apprentice, trying to figure out what happened and save Britain. Like they want to save Britain from whoever may become king next. They want to keep King Arthur's legacy alive. So yeah, you get that story in the present day, but then you get flashbacks from the other knights at the table that are still alive to see what happened leading up in the years leading up to this big last battle where everything went wrong. And through that, you get to see King Arthur, you get to see Merlin, you get to see Lancelot, you get to see Guinevere, and you get to see Morgan Le Fay. And then there's another twist where Morgan Le Fay is, working with the pagan gods, and she's sort of fighting the Christians that King Arthur so suddenly, not so suddenly, is fighting for. And you see what happens to King Arthur and who's on his side and who's actually the bad person. And of course, you get some Lancelot and Guinevere controversy. And this one, Guinevere's a good person. Sometimes Guinevere's bad, sometimes she's good. Depends what King Arthur version you're reading. I really enjoy when Guinevere is sort of a great character, and in the end, she's good. And that's kind of what happens here, except she's never really a great character. She's presented as a great character by people who believe she did something wrong, but she didn't actually do anything wrong. And in the end, I think the story has a really good end. It doesn't have a great end, but it has a really good end where Guinevere becomes queen. King Arthur is dead, but it's like they finally defeat Lancelot, who was like Lancelot and Merlin, who were like the two big bad guys of this book. You find out. They finally defeat them, and everything seems to be right. Guinevere is going to be queen, and then Morgan Le Fay shows them, nope, the Saxons are marching in, and there's no stopping them. There's too many. That's how the book sort of ends, and it sort of ends with like, well, we're going to keep fighting, but probably not going to win the next one. Yeah, it's a really interesting end, really, really powerful stuff going on there. And this book has really good humor and really good storytelling, really good magic. It's not quite, I wouldn't call it a great book because there's some of the flashbacks are a little boring, I would say, but not all of them. There's some that are really, really good. But yeah, for the most part, I really like this book. I think it's very good. 3.5 stars. Oh, and one more thing. The depiction of Tarvalon is from Wheel of Time. The depiction of Avalon, which, Tarvalon is based on, in this book is really, really, really good. This is my favorite depiction I've ever read of Avalon. Really enjoyed it. And next, I read The Knight and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is a new release, a new romance release by her. She is the author of The Shepherd King duology, which is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. And this book is my book of the month. Great book. Loved everything about this book. There wasn't anything I didn't love about it. The magic system. And you hear the word romance and you're like, well, this might not be for me. But I don't really feel like it's a romantasy. I really don't. She writes so much fantasy that you can like connect to other authors. Like she writes magic systems like Brandon Sanderson. The magic system in this book is great. It's sort of like this omen, divine thing going on where you have these like 6 people that can see divinations, and they have these 6 omens that they see that they can dream about. But it has like magical spring water in it and these magical artifacts. Really good stuff. She writes really, really good settings. They're always like gothic in nature, but like you can visually picture them in your head, and they're so aesthetically pleasing. Like you can tell what her aesthetic is just by reading her books, and she does a really, really good job with that. She writes fantastic cliffhangers. The cliffhanger at the end of this book is awesome. You can kind of see it coming, but you could also not see it coming at the same time. Really good stuff. She writes really, really powerful antagonists and really good protagonists too. Like she's just an awesome storyteller, and her books aren't overly long either. Like really good stuff. She has this character in this book, the gargoyle. His name is Bartholomew, who is hilarious. He's probably the funniest character I read this year. Awesome character. I love him. Uh, yeah, there's so many good stuff going on with this book that it's really hard to criticize anything about it. I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 stars, and actually, this is the third Rachel Gillig book I read this, not this year, but third Rachel Gillig book I've ever read. I read the other 2 last year, and I've given all of them 5 stars. So she's just one of my favorite authors. She might be like, she's awesome, great writer. Okay, and then the next book I read this month was The Little Prince, which I read on my Kindle. I also read The Night and the Moth on my Kindle. And The Little Prince is by Antoine de Saint-Exupery. I definitely butchered that name, and I apologize, but I don't speak French, so. Uh, and this is an awesome children's story. It's a book you can read in a day. It's about 100 pages, maybe a little bit more, a little less, depending on what version you get. It has some great artwork in it. And yeah, just it speaks on some really, really good, powerful theming, like love and friendship and loneliness and sacrifice, and just so many of those good themes, and especially the theme of love, which is like the central theme of it, is really powerful and really good. And the character of the little prince is just really, really easy to root for, and he's really funny too. Like he's this character who always asks questions, and like the people won't want to answer his question, so they'll like try to distract him, but he'll never stop asking the question until you answer it. It's like knockdown hilarious. And there's this rose that he looks after on his planet because he's from a different planet, and that's how you learn the not how you would learn, but that's like where the theme of love comes from the story. And it has just this really, really good end that's left up to your interpretation. Is the little prince dead or is he not? I personally like to think he's back home with his rose. That's just how I like to view things. Some people would say he's dead. Depends how you view it. But yeah, just really powerful stuff. And like I said, very short. Really good children's story, I would say, but you can definitely read it as an adult. It's a very, very good book. A great book, actually, and I gave it 4 stars. I love this one. Okay, next up is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And this one's interesting because, well, they're going for like a sort of a historical fantasy, basically based on Japan and China wars from years ago, long time ago. But yeah, so there's that going on, and you also got the West coming in, causing problems. Our main character's name is Ren, who lives in the southern province of her country, which is basically China. They have a different name for it, but I forget what it's called. And, you know, they're sort of discriminated against by the northern provinces. And there's these 12 provinces held together by this sort of empire that you're going to learn about. And the main theme of this book is sort of corruption, government corruption. Basically, everything you believe in here is lies. Like, the government's just lying to you. And this book really has 2 parts. It's got the army school part, which is sort of like an educational academia style vibes going on, which is really good. I really love that part of that book. I think that part of the book is great. And then the second part, which is the war part, which I don't think is as good. I think it's fine. A lot of that part missed for me. But it has a really interesting magic system where they pray to these gods, and these gods sort of grant you powers, but they don't grant them. They grant them for a price, which is really interesting. Our main character, Rin, is a little bit infuriating at times in this book. She's warned multiple times, like, yo, you should not be doing this. Definitely don't pray to this god. Please don't pray to this god. He will do terrible things. And then in the end, you know, she decides to accept the god, and she does terrible things. She blows up an entire country. Japan is destroyed. They're called the Federation in this book, but they get leveled by this multiple volcanoes. She prays to the Phoenix, who is this fire god. Yeah, and again, the theming in this book is hit you over the face, powerful. And I didn't mind that at all. It's just some of the war stuff I didn't really work for me, but the academia stuff was great, and some of the characters were great. And the magic system was really great. Yeah, I liked a lot of this book, but some of it bounced off me. me, it's just a very good book. I gave it 3.5 stars. I shouldn't say just, because very good is still like awesome. Like, I'd recommend this book to anybody. Just didn't quite hit the great range because some of the, like, half the books sort of bounced off me a little bit, but still very good. 3.5 stars. I think you'll enjoy it. Also, the action's really good. It's kind of grimdarky though. It's a little violent, so you worried about that. The next book is The Dragon Republic, and I think this is the best book in the series. I think this book is near perfect. There's some really, really powerful stuff in this. Again, this book deals with corruption. The whole series does, which is kind of powerful that you deal with corruption in this book, and it's not like it doesn't just fade to the background. It's there in all 3 books. And yeah, you learn more about the leadership here, more about the myths, what's real, what's not. Learn about the West. The West is way more involved in this book, and maybe they're not so quite as good as they seem. Our main character in this book is way more likable, even though she has some really despicable stuff. And then the end, it leaves you with like a cruel twist, like a cruel cliffhanger, and it's so sad, and but it works. It's what you wanted out of this book, because like I said, this book's very dark, very good. This book's all war, very little academia going on, but the war stuff in this book is much better than the first book. I think the characters are much better than this book. Yeah, and there's like some mysteries that are not fully solved yet in this book that leave you teasing, but you can kind of guess at them because they give you enough hints of what's going on here. And yeah, just some really, really good stuff here, and I really, really love this book. To me, this is a perfect book. 4.5 stars. Really like this one. Dragon Republic, definitely my favorite of the series. Would recommend it to anybody. And then finally, the last book I read this month was The Burning God, which is the 3rd and final book in the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. This is my least favorite of them. There was some stuff I really liked about this book a lot. Like learning about the Triumvirate, finally figuring out what's going on with them, I thought was really interesting. There were some really great fight scenes with our main character, Rin. I think the Nezo stuff, some of that was really good. I really liked Sate. I'm definitely butchering all these names, and again, I apologize for that. It was really interesting. I think he's like the character you want to root for the most here. Yeah, there's some really great scenes in this book, and then there's some scenes that you just don't like. I really hated the ending of this book. I didn't feel like anybody won, which is fine because the series is dark. I get it, but I didn't feel great about it. I think the character who the book wants us to feel sympathy for at the end is not sympathetic at all. Like, I think he's just a bad person, basically. Very hard to root for him. Yeah, that part bothered me. I think the fight with the dragon was kind of a letdown. You get a fight with a dragon in this book, like Rin fights this dragon with like other people. Quite work. It's a bit of a letdown. Yeah, but there's some, like I said, there's some great scenes in this. The Triumvirate stuff is really awesome. I think her training I think she trains 4 shamans. I think that's Rin training 4 shamans is really good. I think the Sate stuff is really good. I think the beginning when she's marching to take the southern provinces is great. There's just some stuff that didn't work, especially the end and the dragon fight. And those are 2 like major things about this book. Those 2 scenes did not work for me at all. I actively hated both of them. So for me, this one is my least favorite book of the month, probably. And I think it's just a fine book. Not a bad book. I didn't hate it. Not getting into the 1-star range where I hated my time here. A fine book because there was some stuff I really loved, but there was a couple things I hated. So 2.5-star book. I'd still recommend the series to people because I think the first 2 books really work well. Especially the second. Second one's near perfect. Like I said, I thought the first one was very good. But the third one, the end might work for some people. It just didn't work for me. And that is my May reading. Like I said, it was a great month of reading. I had a 5-star read. I had a lot of 4-star reads. I finished 3 different series. I read some really good standalones, 3 of them that I'm super happy to read. Yeah, couldn't have asked for a better month of reading, and I can't wait for June's reading because I have some things that I really want to read in June, and I'm looking forward to it. So let me know what you read this month down below, and tell me what you plan to read in the future. Thanks for watching.